Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Friday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the space where we set oppression ablaze. Apologies for the tardiness to the pardiness. We had to get some clips together to make sure that we had a very full and robust program to present to the folks, them that would be y'all in the chat. Shout out to the Fire Fam in the building hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully, we got a good show. You guys, last show, I have no idea the whys in the ins and the outs and the what have yous, but we had over 12,000 views, like 12,500 views on Tuesday's live. I have no idea why. I have not a clue what the reason was, but for whatever reason, YouTube decided not to shit on us. So let's hope we can keep that lucky streak going. It must be because it's what, kids? Leo season. That's right. that is correct. So happy birthday to all the Leos out there. It's our time. It's our time. Happy birthday, Black Magic, to your mama. I know you said your mama was a Leo. So a couple of you non-Leos have some Leos in your periphery. So please extend my Feliz cumpleaños to the Leo in your life. Shout out to Infinite Content. Big up to Afra Sings. Shout out to Renee Johnston. Big up Ricky Ryan, the Leos that we all collectively know. So, and myself, of course, my birthday is a Sunday. Big up. It's the 28th. Ooh, be big 46, everybody. Big 46. I can't believe it. Where and it's so funny, like all the shit that you say at this age, it's like, yeah, I remember old folks saying that shit when I was young. Where did the time go? And that's when you were a young person, that phrase doesn't resonate as much as it does when you are mid 40s. So where did the time go? But here it is. It's time for me to get in here and say what's up to y'all. What is up? Up will inform me that our good brother Latif has gifted 5 channel memberships to the folks, and Swery Ferry is the latest to become a member officially, even though you already official. Well, you were already official, Swery Ferry, but now official with the signage and shit next to your name. You're an official channel member. So welcome, Swery Ferry, as an official member of the Fire Fam. Big up to all my Fire Fam members. Shout out to 2Fs, Franny French. What's up to Miss J Free in the building? What is going on to Sith Lord Prince in the building? KJ Sakuna in the building. Dawn Bird, Afraid Not in the building. Who else is in here? Who else is in here? Announce yourself. Announce yourself. Thank you guys so much for making the time. I've got some stories to get into. So let me just, since we already late and shit, let me not even preview these joints. Let me just get right into it. Gang, you know what time it is. It's time for you to engage with this here content. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Consider channel membership, become an official member of the Fire Fam. And you can support us on all the cash platforms. BIDWKB. Follow us, find us, and support us. So the week of July 24th, here in Washington, D.C., it has been rocking for the past few days because the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, decided to roll his funky ass into town and get in front of Congress and just pop all the shit that he wanted to about Americans exercising their freedom of speech and freedom to protest and assemble. He had like negative shit to say about that, disparaging the folks that took to the streets of Washington, D.C., and the thousands surrounding the U.S. Capitol, even days before Netanyahu's congressional address, the protesters had been surrounding the Watergate Hotel where the prime minister was staying. They correctly made sure that that motherfucker did not get a good night's sleep. War criminals are coming to town. Oh, what? They think they can get a good night's sleep, huh? In the 3,000 thread count sheets. No, sir. Not around these parts. Not here on today. So I want us to take a look at some of the scenes, everybody, because when I tell you the folks came out, the folks absolutely came out. And it was interesting to see. We're not going to look at too much of Netanyahu's speech at all because I don't know how or what I can and cannot say here on the tube of use, but he was giving me big Adolf H energy. I mean, was it just me? You guys ever seen the old speeches of Adolf H? Even though I couldn't understand German, I understood. Even I may not have been able to translate, but I understood what the fuck he was saying and the energy in which he was saying it with. And I'm telling you, Benji Netanyahu was giving me Adolf H energy up that bitch. And you know what? I don't give a fuck if it gets me in trouble, if anybody has a problem with it, because at the end of the day, Benjamin Netanyahu is overseeing a genocide. So tell me, how does he really differentiate from Adolf H? Fuck him. So the streets was also like, yes, fuck Bibi Netanyahu out this bitch. So let us get right into it. So where am I starting here first? So let us do this. Let's take a look at the way that this was covered from foreign media, because I did not make it down to the protest. Something came up. I wasn't able to go. But I was watching the coverage because obviously it was a local story to me, but a national story as well. And they had reporters down there covering the protests. I thought they covered it somewhat fairly. They were fair in saying that, it was overwhelmingly nonviolent. And of course, we know that in addition to Metropolitan Police, which are DC police, NYPD came down with 200 officers. What the fuck for? Y'all could have stayed y'all asses up top and terrorized your own citizens. We didn't need that shit down here. And so anyway, I was interested in the way that the foreign press covered this versus the domestic press. And pay attention to one of the lead things, one of the first 2 to 3 facts mentioned in this package, because to me it was very telling of the balance, dare I say, that this particular news agency was willing to give the events surrounding the protests around Netanyahu's visit. Let's take a look at that.
At the very moment, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was receiving a rapturous ovation from members of Congress. Some of the thousands of protesters who'd gathered outside were pepper sprayed by police and had to seek treatment. Police from New York joined those from Washington, D.C. in guarding the Capitol from congressional constituents from all over the U.S. who were determined to emphasize that the politicians inside did not represent them.
The goal is to issue a citizen's arrest for the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, how likely is that?
Well, I think it's likely that we've sent the message. Our ability to actually enforce international law is severely limited.
When you have a demonstration like we are the constituents, I think we're almost there, it's a movement. It's going to take a constant push.
Like so many other U.S. protests against the Israeli war, a diverse group gathered to show their solidarity with the people of Gaza. During his address to members of Congress, the Israeli Prime Minister criticized those protesting outside the Capitol building and across the country, accusing them of standing with evil.
We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
As he was speaking, Rashida Tlaib, the only Palestinian member of Congress, held up 2 signs. One said war criminal, the other guilty of genocide. And outside, some protesters took issue with a claim by Netanyahu suggesting they were paid agents of Iran.
I totally believe he finds it hard to believe that we don't want genocide. He finds it easy to dehumanize people. So when he sees people in the streets to protect human life, that is completely foreign to him.
One prominent U.S. musician also expressed his outrage over the war in Gaza.
It's a disgusting show of support for someone that doesn't deserve our support. I'm ashamed that my tax dollars are going to the brutalizing of an entire people.
Netanyahu is due to meet with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris separately at the White House Thursday. Some of the demonstrators here say they'll be outside the White House too, making their voices heard. Shia Britansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Yeah, Al Jazz is usually going to cover the thing straight up, and I appreciate their ongoing reporting covering the genocide happening in Gaza. I also appreciate again the way that they led off with the fact that while Netanyahu was inside addressing Congress, the constituents of Congress were outside getting pepper sprayed. It's interesting that they had all those police out there to deal with folks that oppose Netanyahu's visit and his speech. I promise you, it was not that many police out there on January the 6th, guys. It was not that many police out there for J6. Where was NYPD when it came to J6? Oh, that's right. NYPD was in the crowd. That's right. I'm sorry. They took off to come to January 6th to participate in the riot and in the storming of the U.S. Capitol. That's where NYPD was, right? My bad. They were down there, but they weren't down there in their official capacity. Anywho, the protests outside were one thing, but there were a number of folks. I think the number I heard, correct me, chat, if you guys know better. I think I heard 6 folks were taken out of the House chamber for interruptions during Netanyahu's speech. But one person who sat up in there in his face was Michigan Congressperson Rashida Tlaib. And, you know, all the criticisms we have about the squad, I think, are very valid and legit. But when it comes to the issue of Palestine and the U.S. complicit support of Israeli settler, colonialists, colonists, Rashida has been 10 toes down, consistent. And that's great, actually, when you think about it, because think about how many how many minorities, and maybe not minorities, but people of color and Black people, but people of color who come to this country as immigrants, and then they get assimilated in the system, and then they turn their back on their people, they turn their back on what U.S. policy is doing to their people in their homeland. Rashida Tlaib is not that person. She is not that girl. Okay. Every time the Israeli Iron Dome defense spending comes up on the floor, Rashida got a lot to say. She got a lot to say. So I want us to actually hear a clip of Rashida Tlaib. I believe this was the day that Netanyahu addressed Congress, or it was the week. She was wearing her Palestinian scarf, and she had some tough talk for some of her congressional colleagues. And then we're going to cut to Rashida sitting in the House chamber, staring Netanyahu, aka Pennsylvania's Adolf H, the Philly suburbs, Adolf H, fucking Benjamin Netanyahu. Rashida Tlaib stared that motherfucker dead in his face and held up that war criminal sign right in his face. I loved it. Anyway, let's hear from Rashida Tlaib.
Of my colleagues coming to me whispering, I don't really like Netanyahu. Well, then why are we sending him billions of dollars with no conditions? He literally is telling us over and over again what his intention is. I'm tired of my colleagues coming and whispering to me, Rashida, I support two-state solution. Great. Then send money that conditions for a two-state solution, because Netanyahu has over and over again told us he never wants to see a Palestinian state. So I'm tired. I oppose Netanyahu's war crimes and want him gone too. But many of my colleagues that continue to tell me that do not want to condition the aid. They give it to a genocidal maniac. My message to those my colleagues is simple. If you don't support Netanyahu, if you're disgusted by the countless videos of lifeless children pulled out of the rubble, if you actually believe in upholding human rights and international law, vote no on a blank check to Netanyahu's genocide.
When the blood libels against the Jewish state come from people who wear fancy silk robes and speak in lofty tones about law and justice, here's a case in point. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has shamefully accused Israel of deliberately starving the people of Gaza. This is utter, complete nonsense. It's a complete fabrication. Israel has enabled more than 40,000 aid trucks to enter Gaza. That's 500,000 tons of food. And that's more than 3,000 calories for every man, woman, and child in Gaza. If there are Palestinians in Gaza who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it. It's because Hamas.
He went on to say because Hamas stole it. And it was really rich for Benjamin Netanyahu to sit up there in Washington, D.C., home of the World Central Kitchen, where workers from that organization, for the which Jose Chef Andres is the head of, sending food aid to tumultuous places across the globe, including Gaza. And it was Benjamin Netanyahu's forces that murdered the World Central Kitchen workers, right? While they were doing what? Bringing in aid to Gazans. The amount of lies that Netanyahu told were it was Trump-esque. And I can only assume that the motherfucker either A, intentionally knew he was lying, or B, truly lives in a alternate reality in which the deaths, the intentional murders via bombs and missiles and bullets and drone strikes, the intentional death of tens of thousands of civilians, half of those children, doesn't even bother to escape his lips. Can't even bring himself to say it, right? Which is amazing because I thought most demons could be truthful, but this demon, no, this demon was not able to do that. Shout out to Rashida Tlaib for taking her stand. And I want us to take it to the outside, everybody, whereby the tens of thousands. And unfortunately, I don't know if we'll get an accurate number of how many were actually out there because, for propaganda purposes, it's not in the U.S. interest to disclose that tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of its citizens came out to protest its biggest ally, right? America doesn't want that information getting out there, at least not the specifics of it. And the U.S. Park Police is able to kind of gauge, I suppose, some of that information, or Park Police. But I don't think they'll come out and say what the real number was. But let's take it to the streets because everything looked mighty impressive. Can I say? The folks let Netanyahu know, but they also toe up shit. They toe up shit. They was tearing down American flags and Israeli flags, setting them joints on fire. Columbus Circle, where the statue of Christopher Columbus, I'm pretty sure, still stands. Yep, that joint always gets the business. when the left protests come to town and decide to tear up, they always throw in some red paint on Christopher Columbus statue. I said, that's what I'm talking about. That is the kind of cutting up I am definitely here for. So wait, let me say less. And let us go to the streets of Washington, D.C., where the folks came out to let Netanyahu know that genociders and Zionists will not be tolerated. Nope, sure won't. Not with peace. Let's go.
Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! fucking white pig!
Because Netanyahu is a war criminal and should be arrested and should not be speaking in front of the United States Congress.
We are here to fight in the name of not only the Palestinian people, but all of the global South that throughout history have been victims of war, genocide, and oppression by the first world, by the so-called Western powers.
I'm here for you. I stand with you. I will always defend and protect you, no matter where I am.
This is one of the largest demonstrations in the history of the United States, with thousands of pro-Palestine demonstrators converging around the Capitol in protest of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit.
As a medical community, we are giving orders to the Capitol Police to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu as a war criminal.
So as U.S. citizens and U.S. taxpayers, we think it's our duty to stand up. This day is very shameful. This will be another dark stain on U.S. history.
I'm a Palestinian. I came from North Carolina.
I am a Jew. I am a rabbi. I am an Arab. And my words feel hollow.
Our government is complicit because they are hosting this war criminal instead of ordering him to stop the genocide.
People are waking up not only to what's happening in U.S. funding for Israel and Gaza, but just the continued funding of the U.S. empire, wars and militarization around the world.
For those who are running for elections, the only way for them to get our votes is to demand and implement an immediate ceasefire.
Really, really powerful scenes from Washington, D.C. this week, protesting the visit and congressional address of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Credit to the photojournalist on the ground, the accounts Palestinian Culture One and Scootercaster. Wonderful, wonderful on the ground coverage. Appreciate getting those perspectives and person on the street interviews from the real actual attendees, and people are so clear and so understanding of exactly what is at stake as it pertains to this issue. And for one of the last persons interviewed in the package who said, you know, and for everybody that's running for office, you need to know that our votes are contingent upon how you respond to this issue. And Kamala did issue a statement. I didn't pull it. The amount I'm about to hear from Kamala for the next 3 months, like, please, I got, I have to take Kamala in doses. However, I did listen to the statement that she gave. In case you did not know, Kamala and Joe Biden did not attend Netanyahu's speech. I suppose it was viewed as somewhat of a snub. And I'm like, well, if the United States under Biden Harris is still cutting the checks and sending the weapons, I mean, who gives a fuck? If Netanyahu don't give a fuck if they didn't come to his little funky ass speech, as long as they still cutting the checks and sending the missiles, that's all they care about. But from a political perspective, Kamala's statement was actually she did as good of a job as someone in her position can do at threading the needle between being overly critical or critical at all about how Israel is fighting this war against Hamas, they say, but all the Palestinians is getting demolished out here. But one thing she did say, that one phrase she used that jumped out at me, she could not come out and call out Netanyahu for intentionally and deliberately starving Palestinians, which is exactly what is happening right now in Gaza. She said that Palestinians are suffering from acute food insecurity. That was the phrase. I said, bitch, you mean starvation. And she said it like twice. She said acute food insecurity is having such a detrimental effect. No, bitch, starvation. When there is literally a land blockade on aid coming into Gaza, when the Israeli forces are literally dropping bombs and missiles on aid convoys, trying to bring food and supplies into Gaza. Those are intentional acts and those are war crimes, right? Those are the same kinds of crimes that the US gets all huffy with Russia about as it pertains to Ukraine. But when Netanyahu and Israeli forces do it, oh, well, they're trying their best to be conscious of minimizing civilian deaths. No, they aren't. And the jig is up. Everybody in this country knows what time it is. And the people that came out to DC to protest Netanyahu were just a fraction of those that probably wanted to come out. Fire fam, did you want to go? did you want to go? If you had the ability, the means, the time off to travel to DC to give fucking Netanyahu the business on July 24th, would you have done so if you were able? I'm sure you were. And Netanyahu's such a pussy. Well, pardon me. No. I'm sorry. I can't even say he's soft because he ain't soft. This motherfucker's terrible. He's a tyrant. He is a hardened war criminal out here. However, his face absolutely resembles a scrotum, right? Scrotum-faced bastard. He's another one of them scrotum-faced bastards. What did this nigga get up there and say he said many things that I found ridiculous. When he was being critical of the protesters, he said something an offhanded comment trying to mock the numbers. He was like, oh, well, it's just a few of them out there. Oh, just a few, bitch. Oh, okay. No, it wasn't just a few. It might have been a few outside the Watergate giving you the fucking blues. And I don't even think it was a few of them. I think it was more than Netanyahu probably was expecting. And shout out to the coalitions again that came out and supported and showed up. The Palestinian groups, along with Black liberation groups, along with, Jewish Voices for Peace. I mean, Kamala Harris needs to understand that as much of an issue as the genocide in Palestine was going to be an anchor dragging down Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, she is not absolved. And I know there's a whole bunch of Black girl magic enthusiasm going on. Please kindly remind the folks, if you don't mind, that Kamala is simply going to assume the reins if she were to win the election. Kamala is only going to assume the reins of enabling and supporting the genocide. She is not here to stop it. If Joe Biden, with all of his accumulated political capital and relationships that he has built over 5 decades in Washington, not just in the halls of Congress, not just in the White House, but literally around the world, right? They sent Joe Biden around the world to push a lot of terrible shit, okay? A lot of terrible foreign policy, right? So Joe Biden and Netanyahu, regardless of whether or not they like or dislike one another, they have an extensive relationship. And Joe Biden, if he had any influence over Netanyahu, perhaps he tried to exercise it. Maybe he didn't even try. But my point is, Kamala's got less than Joe. Okay. Kamala's got less political capital than Joe Biden. And she's already got 2 strikes against her because she's not white and she's not male. When did a white mandem listen to non-white women? Be serious. Be serious. So Kamala knows that she can't make Netanyahu do jack fucking shit out here in terms of accepting the terms of a ceasefire. And even if said terms were to be accepted by Israel and by Hamas, you can count on Israel to violate that because they've already violated war crimes. There's already arrest warrants out. There's already investigations by international agencies, the ICJ and the ICC, as to whether or not Israel is committing genocide. They are. And Netanyahu don't give a single shit about any of that. Who gonna check him, boo? Who is going to check him? It's not gonna be Kamala. And clearly it's not going to be the hundreds of genocide enablers that were members of mostly the Republican, but also some members of the Democratic Party there in Congress who hosted this man, who let him come on to American soil to disparage the citizens of this country, to smear the citizenry of this country, to make accusations of the citizenry that everyone out there was paid Iranian puppets. And it's like, oh, that's original. We just switching up Iran for Russia. Oh, okay, cool. That's not going to work. So I wanted to big up and loud up all the folks that came out, turned up. And we're going to have to put the same pressure on these Democrats, whether or not we think it's going to work, whether or not we may actually have to endure a Trump presidency. Because, guys, I don't believe in rewarding motherfuckers who keep playing in our face. I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that. I don't see why people that lie to us do not have our best interests, certainly do not have the best interests of the nations and of the people that we are exploiting with our foreign policy abroad, right? Like, I don't think those people should win elections. And I don't think the response is, well, if you think it's bad now, wait till Trump gets in. I mean, you're not threatening me with a worser time. like the bar is already in hell. What you think is going to Hades? What you think is going to the Earth's inner core? Like, how much farther do we expect this bar to fall? If not, we are seeing the what I consider quite terrible times under Democratic leadership. And I know Trump says it's scarier, but the problem is the Democrats kind of do it better. They do it more nicely. They do it with diversity, equity, and inclusion. They get the Rainbow Coalition out there to impose capitalism, white supremacy, and American military dominance on the rest of the globe and climate catastrophe. Let me take a break. Thank you guys for being in here tonight. Thank you. What is coming up? So next week, so guys, if you have been a member or longtime viewer here, you know we do fundraising to support the channel, to support the platform 3 times a year. Is that right? Will? I'll try. Yes, we do. That is correct. I think we do a winter fundraiser, we do a spring, and then we do a summer. That sounds right. So normally we try to tie the summer fundraiser around my birthday, which is Sunday. Now, you guys know I don't pay attention to the days or the time of day for that matter. I don't know what day it is, but I was aware. I was like, oh, fuck, my birthday's Sunday. So we didn't even launch the fundraiser this week as intended. So we are going to launch our summer fundraiser next week. It's still going to be in Leo season. And I hope you guys are inspired by the generosity of the sun and come on out to support us and this independent Black woman-led media outlet, of which I try to give commentary to include folks who have often been excluded from the kind of commentary and to make sure we give it to you raw like old dirty bastard, right? So not now, but consider next week holding back a couple bucks to toss it up for your folks over here on the Good Burn It Down with Kim Brown platform. If you want to get started early, we are at Cash App and Venmo, BIDWKB, PayPal.me/BIDWKB, and Patreon.com/BIDWKB. Please and thank you in advance for your support. So I'm going to push along because I am not able to get into the chat. It's the weirdest shit, you guys. You would think that if I could or could not get into the chat, that would be consistent, right? I would either always be able to get into it or never be able to get into it. So the reasons why I can only sometimes get into it doesn't make any sense to I. It makes no sense to I. But you know what? I can't, you know what? I don't even I mean, I do care because I do want to see y'all and say hi and everything because I appreciate you guys taking the time to get over here. But let me just keep rolling through the show. Since so many of you were very patient, despite my tardiness. If you're watching us live on the YouTube vertical stream, try not to troll too hard. I guess. I don't know if Latif is in here working by himself tonight. Shout out to Courtney and Tyler. Tyler, you gotta get on the draw a little bit, son. You can be mean to these motherfuckers if you feel like it. You got permission. You being too Gen Z polite out here, baby. I need you to act like your mama was Gen X and you could be mean to motherfuckers. It's okay. Raise your hand if you can be mean to the trolls as a moderator. I think we do need to add a couple more mods. Will, if you can make people, can you make Dawn a mod? Can you make Afraid Not a mod? Donnie, I don't even know if you want this job. Dawn be like, don't give me that fucking job. I don't want that shit. But anyway, Will, if you can hover the cursor over Afraid Not and give her a wrench. And if you think you can be consistent in your attendance and not be on, no wholesale nonsense as a moderator, raise your hand or drop something in the comments because we need a couple more mods around here, especially if we're going to be getting 12,000 views, lives and shit. Latif said the shit was out of control on Tuesday. Latif said it was too much. She said he thought they was going to start burning crosses right in the fucking chat. I said, hey, as long as they're not disrespectful, I don't mind if the trolls come in here and cook. Y'all can come in here and cook, but don't talk too greasy because our folks will show you to the door. So, behave or act accordingly, however you choose to. So let me get into this next story here, guys. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown. We do this Tuesdays, Fridays, 7 p.m. YouTube, we're on Twitch too. What's up, Twitch? BIDWKB on Twitch. Sometimes we're on Facebook. BIDWKB on Facebook. And of course, Twitter is behaving like a ho-ho at Burn It Down KB. We will not be streaming on Twitter until Elon Musk gets his head out of his ass. And who knows when that will be? Possibly never. So shout out to our folks who ever watched us on Twitter. See you when I get there in that gangster lane. So, we just had conversations about, what's going on with the election. And if we don't vote for Kamala, what are we going to do? If you don't vote for Kamala, who you going to vote for? Trump. So Trump and them can enact Project 2025 and drive us straight to fascism. Ah. Hearing a lot of that already. But I have to say, you guys, it's interesting the ways and the issues in which Democrats and Republicans really, really sync up with one another. I mean, it's almost like the Kid and Play Kickstep. It's like, wow. like y'all don't miss a step. Y'all don't miss a fucking beat. When y'all ready to start putting some shit down on the folks, y'all will come together in bipartisan fashion and oppress us jointly. Funny how that happens. So you guys are aware earlier this year, really just not that long ago, but the Supreme Court made a ruling siding with the town in Oregon, basically making outside unhoused encampments, people who sleep outside because they are unhoused, because they literally have nowhere else to go, so they sleep outside. that is now criminalized activity. And people who do sleep outside in towns and municipalities that do not allow for that can now be cited and arrested officially, right? A lot of that was happening anyway, depending on where you were. But now the Supreme Court has made it the law of the land, right? So this was a decision mostly ruled upon by the conservative justices of the court, the overwhelming majority of the court. Conservative. You guys heard me. I said conservative, right? Well, funny thing. Funny thing. So we all know who Gavin Newsom is, right? The governor of California, the would-be potential vice presidential nominee, but that's not happening for a myriad of reasons. Gavin Newsom also co-host of a podcast alongside of former NFLer Marshawn Lynch and NBA star Draymond Green. Yeah, Gavin Newsom's kind of everywhere. And Gavin Newsom this week, everybody, passed an executive order basically clearing the way for cities and towns in California to start removing their houseless encampments, right? And yes, they can start, these cities and municipalities can begin citing these unhoused residents, and they can also arrest them, right? I want us to take a real quick listen to the Epoch Times, which did a pretty succinct package. And it's really stunning when you think about it, what a Democratic governor and what the ACLU of California called called it cruel tactic, a cruel tactic for Gavin Newsom to basically unleash the power of the state and criminalize poverty and criminalize unhousedness. In the same way that the conservative Supreme Court just did. Isn't that amazing? Look at the bipartisanship, everybody. God bless America. Anyway, let's take a listen to the Epoch Times break it down for us quickly.
California Governor Gavin Newsom issued an executive order Thursday to direct state agencies on how to remove homeless encampments. This comes a month after a Supreme Court ruling allowed cities to enforce bans on sleeping outside in public spaces.
Today, we've invested now over $1 billion in encampment resolution grants, not only to clean up sites like this, but to address the underlying issue in the first place.
Newsom's order is aimed at the thousands of tents and makeshift shelters across the state that line freeways, clutter shopping center parking lots, and fill city parks. While Newsom cannot order local authorities to act, his administration can apply pressure by withholding money for counties and cities. Earlier this summer, the U.S. Supreme Court decided to enforce bans on sleeping outside in public spaces. The case was the most significant on the issue to come before the High Court in decades. It comes as cities across the country have wrestled with the issue of how to deal with a rising number of people without a permanent place to live and public frustration over related health and safety issues. California is home to roughly 1/3 of the nation's population of homeless people. Newsom touted that his administration has spent roughly $24 million aimed at cleaning up streets and housing people, but acknowledged the stubbornness of the issue. Newsom's administration has also come under fire recently after a state audit found that the state didn't consistently track whether the huge outlay of public money actually improved the situation. Under Newsom's direction, state agencies, including state parks and Department of Transportation, would be required to prioritize clearing encampments that pose safety risks, such as those camping along waterways. Officials should give advance notice to vacate, connect homeless people to local services, and help store belongings for at least 60 days. Local cities and counties are urged to adopt similar protocols.
So those were the terms of Gavin Newsom's executive order that he signed the last week of July. And it is kind of interesting, some of the numbers that was set out in that package. The reporter said $24 billion has been spent to help clean up unhoused encampments. And this has all been spent, I believe, by the Newsom administration by itself. And yet the lack of accountability to find out, number one, where all the money went, but number two, was it even helpful, right? This is what Democrats do. So they are quick to really throw money at the problem, but really do very lax accountability, or what they do is they toss the money to the nonprofit sector, in which we know that overhead is where most nonprofit grant money and that kind of or government funding tends to go to nonprofits overhead. Most of the time, the work that they claim to do doesn't really reach or do much to help the populations that they say that they intend to assist. Um, Part of the problem when it comes to housing, not only in this country, by the way, wait, hold on. Speaking about bipartisanship, Ron DeSantis also proposed a similar law. Florida, did that actually pass? Where DeSantis wanted, instead of people being criminalized for sleeping out in the open in public spaces, which, by the way, he does want to criminalize it, but he wants to shuttle everyone to tent cities, I suppose, and have everybody who lives in a tent live there. And I'm like, oh, kids too? Like, oh, we just sit everyone in the fucking tent. Is this America's housing solution to over 500,000 people that have been counted as being unhoused? 500,000 people, I'm sorry, I think the number is over 600,000, maybe closer to 700,000. And again, that's just the people counted, right? Sometimes the number of unhoused population in America doesn't account for people that either sleep in their cars or who couch surf, rather, go from friend's couch to friend's couch. A lot of times those people are not counted in the unhoused population. So whereas we're at a stated number of over 600,000, the number is probably much higher than that. And it's interesting to see these Democrats and these Republicans come together on these kinds of issues when it comes to actually doing something that will benefit the least of those in our society. It's a lot of hemming and hawing. It's a lot of, well, we try to throw money at it. We spent a bunch of money, but now that didn't work. So now we're just going to criminalize people, incite them, and clear these encampments. But we're going to do it humanely, okay? Here's part of the problem. Before people become unhoused is when they need to be reached, right? Definitely reach the people that are currently on the streets. But how do we stop the numbers of people currently living on the streets from continuing to grow? Well, we have to reach out and help the people that are on the precipice of eviction. Okay. We have a housing crisis in this country. We have an eviction crisis in this country. We have a housing cost, a cost of living crisis going on in this country. And when you look at the rising rates of rents everywhere, everybody, even in places, where we expect high rents, such as New York, LA, Chicago, Miami. One of our Fire Fan members communicated to us that down there in North Carolina, the rents is about to start rocking out of control. Folks in the Midwest, St. Louis, Iowa, the places, down south, Atlanta, the rent crisis, it's a fucking problem. Rents have not kept up with wages, or rather, the amount of rent is our wording, working people and poor people. It's insanity. But hold on. I want us to go back to California for a second, because again, there's a number of organizations that are doing what they can to help the unhoused populations in that state. And one of them is a group of young folks, young organizers called the Debt Collective. And I believe that they are housing justice advocates. But the clip that we're about to take a look at, the sister talks in depth about trying to make sure that we're helping people before they get evicted, or we're trying to make the state pass some way better policies, to try to help keep people in their homes before they end up on the streets, and then before the LAPD or LASD come and throw all their shit away and make them start all over from zero. So anyway, let's listen to the Debt Collective on evictions.
Newsom just ordered the removal of homeless encampments throughout California, and this should deeply disturb you because he's using an authority granted to him by a right-wing leaning Supreme Court. Criminalizing homelessness does nothing to solve the housing crisis. Instead, it disappears people, disproportionately and overwhelmingly veterans, Black and brown folks, LGBTQ plus people, women and children, the list goes on and on. Obviously, we can't always rely on politicians to do the right thing, and we have to organize. That's why I'm part of the Debt Collective, the nation's first union of debtors, and we work in solidarity with tenant unions. In fact, we recently released a takeover issue within these. I learned so much from this article, The Future of Housing Organizing Tenant Unions, because one of the ways that we fight the housing crisis is the point of eviction. Eviction exacerbates poverty. We can learn a lot from LATU, the LA Tenant Union, because 15% of people in LA live below the poverty line. What does that mean? That means that we have more in common with people that are homeless than we do with billionaires. There's too much to unpack in this article for 1 minute, but if you want to know more, comment below. If you're in Cali, use the Tenant Power Toolkit, tenantpowertoolkit.org.
tenantpowertoolkit.org. And what a word was spoken there, because it applies to all of us. Every single person watching this right now and who will watch it, whether or not you agree or not, we have more in common with unhoused people than we do with billionaires, right? How many of us are one paycheck, two paychecks, a fucking review of your benefits? How many of us are one of those things happening away from ourselves being unhoused, ourselves now couch surfing, ourselves now sleeping in our vehicles? The Democrats continue to stand with the elites. They are not looking out for the so-called little people. They are not looking out for working class people. They are not looking out for poor people. Okay. I also want you to consider in California, we had some praise for Cali earlier this year because they raised the minimum hourly wage for fast food workers, I believe, to $20 an hour, right? But you guys, how many folks would be working even those kinds of jobs full time and still not be able to afford the rent? I was looking at videos of person on the street interviews from up and down California, all the way from San Diego, La Jolla to LA to the Bay, and people were giving their rents. Some of the people I thought was lying because you had the standard 1,800 for a studio apartment in San Fran. Somebody in LA said they was paying $4,000 a month in their rent. I'm like, liars. But I keep forgetting everybody's not broke. Like, yes, I know I only know broke people. I know that. So when I hear about people that have money and shit, I'd be like, nah, you motherfuckers is lying. Don't nobody pay no $4,000 for rent. But they do. Just nobody I know. It's staggering. But so Gavin Newsom, Ron DeSantis, the current iteration of the Supreme Court, and possibly even Kamala, all are in support of making sure that our cities and our streets are clean and safe. All of this talk about public safety. Listen, people being unhoused is unsafe and dangerous for women and children, especially also for people that are LGBTQ, especially. Those are the populations that are at most risk of becoming unhoused, and those whose lives are at most danger when they are housing insecure. But here's my question, everybody. If there's billions of dollars being spent on the issue, why didn't the issue get better? I don't think it's a coincidence that in California in particular, they had $24 billion, Democrats did, to address the issue of unhousedness. I don't believe that they made a mass purchase of homes, right? Single family units or multi-family dwellings, townhouse developments or apartment complexes. Like, I'm not aware that the state made any major purchases of those types of properties to help put the unhoused folks in. But you know what did happen around the same time? The rise of the private equity, the venture capitalist funds that are sucking up single family housing and multifamily units around the country and placing them into private landlords' hands. Corporations like the one helmed by, Jared Kushner and others, where they are slumlords basically in cities all across this country, but they are owning all of the properties. Why is it that the private money was allowed to buy up all these properties that regular people perhaps may have otherwise been living in, but the state didn't bother to buy any of these properties? Like, why not? We have an issue here. We have a problem. And if there are over 600,000 people living unhoused in this country, with 180,000 of them living in California alone, that doesn't tell me that 180,000 people have failed at life out here. That tells me that the state has failed. That tells me that the state is outright refusing to meet the needs of its people, despite it having the ample resources to do so. This is intentional. And the timing of Gavin Newsom's executive order, basically imploring cities and counties in California to do something about the unhoused encampments, comes right as the Paris Olympics kicks off. And I know you guys are like, Kim, what does Paris have to do? Oh, some of y'all are sharp in here, but y'all know. So we're having the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, France. Where's the 2028 Summer Olympics going to be, everybody? Los Angeles, California. That is correct. Gavin Newsom is giving authorities the green light 4 years in advance. Get these fucking unwanted people cleaned up and out of sight. Get them out of here. We don't care where you put them. Get them off of the streets where the good folks can see them. This is a ploy. This is an advanced tactic to rid the streets, to rid Los Angeles' streets in particular, maybe San Fran too. And I know with the FIFA World Cup coming to this hemisphere, I'm sure that's playing a part in all of these very cruel and intentional laws to target unhoused folks. So the point is, kids, like, we can speculate about Trump's 2025, Project 2025 America. We can speculate on what horrors a Trump 2.0 administration could unleash upon us. We don't have to wonder what the shit looks like under Democrats, because we're seeing it right now. So if the Democrats are basically telling us, if you think that our policies are bad, wait till you get a load of Trump. Again, that is not a ringing endorsement. That is not the rousing hook to bring me in to vote for you. Like the Democrats, their phrase, we're making things shitty, but it's going to get shittier. No, absolutely not. No. So y'all continue to remind all of the liberal Democrats in your life, of which I know some of y'all have some, we all do, that the Democrats are not shit. Kamala's not shit. Gavin Newsom, not shit. Joe Biden, not shit. Let me take a quick pause because I'm about to run through this here and turn the folks them loose. After I got one more story, guys. Everybody survives in this story too, so it's a good story. Will, do we have any shout outs that we can acknowledge?
Not at the moment. I was trying to look for Afraid Not To, and it's like somebody else with her name or with their name. And yeah, so I was trying to add them as a mod just now as well. No shout outs, just Offset, Reed, who hosted the panel that I was on last week, which was great. Shout out to People's Party, shout out to Sister Shireen and Roger, and I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot the last panelist's name, but they were great as well. But yeah, she said happy birthday. Her birthday as well.
Who?
Offset Reed. She was host.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Good, you to name about 4 or 5 people. I'm like, who said it? But thank you. Shout out to Sister Reed. Appreciate you so much.
Yes. Yeah. So yep, that was it. No shout outs right now. We at 62.
Why am I shouting out Pamela Jones? What Pamela Jones do? Pamela, thank you for whatever you did.
Yes, shout out to you.
What's up, Warren Register? Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys coming through and supporting the thing. See, YouTube, I'm telling you guys, like YouTube put suppression on my channel. Like the fact that my last live got so many views, that just tells me like, oh, so if they take their thumb off the scale, oh, if y'all stop holding my shit back, the folks them can find it. Got it. But they back on their bullshit. So here we go. But it's fine though. I'm happy and ecstatic that we have 60 folks in here jamming. Yeah, Franny Francais. Big up to Latif for doing the guest memberships. We appreciate that. Oh, well, yeah. We worry about that next week. Some of y'all wanna mark the anniversary of the mayhem on the Mississippi River. Where maybe it was the first shot. Was it like Fort Sumter? Was it the first shot of the race war? Was that was that the first battle of the American race war? The Battle of the Mississippi River? I think it should be marked as if I love and deeply appreciate what happened on January 6th, surely what happened on August the 5th is more deserving of acknowledgement than what happened on J6. So we're going to find all the clips and we're going to revisit that day in infamy where the whites got dealt with again. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. So my last story is an interesting one. And to be clear, everyone survives. But let the exposure of how embedded racism is in our criminal injustice system, let this story serve as a reminder, not a surprise or not the first time any of you have heard this. This is what it is. So here we are. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Thank you guys so much for joining us here Tuesday, Friday, 7 p.m. So let's talk about racists. Let's talk about racist judges. Ooh, this story coming out of New York State. Now, this is an update to the original scenario that occurred in upstate New York. I want to say it's New Hartford, New York. Is that a place? I don't, because I remember, was it New Haven or New Hartford? It was someplace new something, upstate New York. My apologies. We're going to get the details in the package. So picture it. Upstate New York, July 2022. There's a high school graduation party happening at a house. Teenagers, 17, 18, high school seniors, new graduates, etc. Kids are having a good time. And this is white folks, okay? it's white people enjoying themselves, just being white, just enjoying it. Oh man, is that nice? It's got to be nice, right? So anyway, so black kids show up and the whites are no longer having a nice time. Now, to be clear, allegedly, these 4 black teenagers arrived at this party after receiving a text message from person unknown with the address to the party. So it would seem that the children having the party and the children who showed up supposedly uninvited, I'm not convinced about that. The black kids that showed up uninvited, there was a confrontation, even a fight. And when the fight happened, the police came. And fortunately, I don't think anybody was arrested. But what happened was one of the party attendees happened to be a New York State Supreme Court judge, right? And when I tell you the judge was in the party talking shit, when I tell you the judge, the white woman judge was talking so much shit to these black children and talking shit to the cops and dropping the fact that she's a fucking sitting judge and I got juice and y'all niggas don't. And police, y'all better come in here and deal with these unruly black children or else. Oh, Oh, it was peak. Mwah! it was peak Judge Karen out this bitch. So the judge, because of her comments and because of her improper conduct as a judge, has been now suggested for removal from the bench. But you guys got to hear it better than you can believe it. So, Will, let us go to the package. And again, this incident happened back in 2022, but there has been a wrinkle, a new development in the story. But you guys got to hear this. Listen to this. Check it out.
Video just released capturing State Supreme Court Justice Aaron Gall threatening to shoot a group of black teenagers.
They'll be shot on the property.
Well, I'm just letting you know that
because
that's the best case
when
scenario.
they trespass, you can shoot them on the property.
They should just come here and just. No, I'm just saying. Every day.
I'll shoot them on the property.
No.
The judge was at a high school graduation party at her friend's house when authorities say there was an argument between invited and uninvited guests. A group of black teenagers who received a text invite to the party with the address then arrived, and a fight broke out shortly after.
Kind of split open pretty far.
Yeah, I've been telling him since I got eyes on him that he needs to go get checked out.
He was definitely hit with something.
During the scuffle, the teens lost the keys to their car and couldn't leave the neighborhood, appearing to upset Gall, who wanted the children to leave, but refused to turn over their car keys if she found them.
If the key turns up,
we're absolutely going to throw it in the toilet. You're welcome.
Somebody's sister's coming to pick them up and get them out of here, and I'm going to get his information. And if we find the
back
keys,
of the cop car, let him wait there.
5 law enforcement agencies arrived on the scene during the more than hour-long ordeal, during which the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct said the judge repeatedly invoked her judicial office.
And that's Judge Gall. I'm a judge. I'm telling you, get off the
Hey, dude, go in at the car.
I'm a Supreme Court judge.
I know, you judge.
Sitting here.
Threatened gun violence.
I'll shoot them on the property.
No.
If I have to clear it out, I will.
And both criticized and pledged favor treatment for the police.
The good part is, I'm always on your side. You know I'd take anyone down for you guys. You know that. You know that. You know I am on your side.
Video also captures the judge making comments about the black teens' intelligence levels.
They don't look like they're that smart. They're not going to prison school. That's why.
And praising her son for beating up partygoers, among other comments.
He put a smack down once he got hit.
Hey, I didn't say it was one-sided.
The commission now calling for the judge to be removed from the bench. The commission administrator telling CBS 6 it is utterly unacceptable for a judge to threaten gun violence, exhibit racial prejudice, promise favorable treatment for the police, or disparage a law intended to keep guns away from dangerous people. Any one of these things would undermine public confidence in the administration of justice. That all this and more was committed by one judge disqualifies her from further service on the bench. Now, Gall's attorney did provide a statement in a brief released by the commission saying the judge was in shock at the time, saying the incident triggered a trauma response to her own assault in the 90s.
I'm sorry, what? Did that sound like a woman traumatized by an incident that had happened 30 years prior? Absolutely not. That sounded like a woman who was beyond entitled, even entitled on some other people's property. That wasn't even her fucking house. She going on and in like that, going that hard at somebody else's house, over somebody else's property. You guys, where do we even begin? So hold on, let's start with some of the basics here about Judge Aaron Gall. Aaron Gall has been on the bench in Oneida County, New York since 2012. She is a Republican. And I want to commend the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct on taking this video seriously. Because within that video, she demonstrated a willingness to threaten violence against minors. She demonstrated clear racial bias, and she also demonstrated clear bias towards the police. I'm on your guy's side. You know I'm on your side. Oh, bitch, really? How often are you on the police side? On on barbecues at your friend's house for the high school graduation party, or are you on the police side every single fucking time you're on the bench? Do you feel or have the same opinions about Black people as you expressed about those Black children? Do you express those views and opinions, maybe not explicitly on the bench, but explicitly through your rulings and your judgments? Willingness to threaten gun violence. I will clear this whole motherfucker out. You heard what she said. And she knew she was talking to and about children. And let me tell you something. Shout out to Dr. Kehinde Andrews. Big fan of Dr. Andrews. Dr. Andrews has a book out called Psychosis of Whiteness. I've checked out Dr. Andrews' previous 2 books. I have not yet checked out The Psychosis of Whiteness, but by the title alone, I am intrigued. Okay. And I think even not having read the book, I know exactly what the fuck he means by psychosis of whiteness. And you guys do too, because right there in that video, everybody, by the way, but for the fucking video, this bitch wouldn't even be in fucking trouble. You understand? But for the video, wasn't nobody going to report this bitch for nothing, about nothing, nothing. Judge Aaron Gall was going to continue to rule and preside in Oneida County, be it as racist and as violent as she is, with no questioning of her conduct or of her views, but regardless. The psychosis of whiteness tells these Black teens that y'all need to leave. But if we find your car keys, we're going to throw it in the toilet. Thank you very much. Does any of that make any fucking sense? You don't want these children here. They arrived at the event via driving their own vehicle. In the physical melee that happened, the Black children's keys became separated from them. And the motherfucking white folks who are demanding that the Black children leave immediately, who have called now 5 different law enforcement agencies to the scene to address this, right, have said that despite the fact that we want them to leave immediately, well, we found their keys and we're not going to give them to them, so they can't fucking leave. You better find someplace else to leave. The psychosis of whiteness wants to make the lives of non-white people, but definitely Black and brown folks, exponentially harder, even in instances in which when it benefits the white folks, right? We all know this. Racists will cut off their nose despite their face, as long as they still get to be fucking racist. You know what I'm saying? Does it hurt them? Sure. But do they get to exercise that white privilege and that white power over you? Oh, yeah. So it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? So this lady would rather rant and rave in public, being captured on camera, announcing all of her biases as a judge, whilst announcing that I am a judge. And now she's in danger of being thrown off the bench. We'll pop up that Newsweek article for me, because as you heard in the package, the New York State Commission on Judicial Review has recommended that Judge Gall, Gall, because that bitch had the gall. That bitch had some gall. Judge Gall, they recommended for Judge Gall to get the fuck up out of here. Panel urges removal of judge allegedly threatening to shoot Black teens. I don't know. Can you call it alleged when she's caught on video? It's like that's her, right? Like that's not somebody else. That wasn't Sandy. No, that was Aaron. That was Aaron Gall, Judge G, saying that I will clear this whole motherfucking out. Saying that you could just shoot him. No, that was her. I don't think we have to caveat that with alleged. So by the way, everybody, this lady has been suspended from the bench with pay. You guys want to know how much Judge G pulls in for being racist as fuck and siding with the cops on the bench? Oh, she makes over $230,000 a year doing that. And she's still receiving her check because she's suspended with pay. No. Let this be a reminder, even though I don't know how big of a story this is, if it's big at all. I don't know if anyone's paying attention to this. But if you think for a second that this particular judge's views are alone on an island out here when it comes to their willingness to agree and go along with police, for their willingness to be openly and explicitly hostile to Black people, especially Black males, um, that is who occupies the benches. That is who are the arbiters of our criminal justice system. You could take the article down, Will. Thank you. That is who is deciding life and death. That is who is making the decisions between probation before judgment and some sort of mandatory minimum sentence if it's at the judge's discretion to do so. That's who that is. That, again, all part of the system. You can take the article down, Will. Thank you. All part of the system that Kamala Harris and the Democrats want you to get out here and fight so hard to uphold. And they would say, hey, part of the reason we need to get out here and fight is to combat against judges like that. Incorrect. This woman, this judge, Aaron Gall. Hey, Will, you can take the article down. Thank you, bro. This judge, Aaron Gall, probably mingles, socializes, does all kinds of things with Democrats, prosecutors, other judges, elected officials, the gamut, because the system is incestuous, right? And the fix is in. The fix is always in against defendants, especially defendants from marginalized communities who are disenfranchised, walking through the door of a courthouse with the likes of Judge Aaron Gall on the bench. And here's the thing, guys. One of the themes I like to talk about is the farce that cancel culture is a thing, right? This lady was caught on tape being racist. She still gets to collect a check. I'm sure she still lives very comfortably. I'm sure her children are going to a very good school, right? Even if she does get removed from the bench, what do you think is going to happen to her? You think she's going to be a pariah in Oneida County? you think people are not going to speak to her at the farmer's market because she got caught on tape being fucking racist? You think there's any social consequence for this lady whatsoever beyond the humiliation of maybe losing her job? Don't you think that the system of white power and white capitalism that has proven to us that it rewards racist actions and behaviors, even racist actions and behavior that result in murders and that result in people losing their lives? These are not disqualifying things in racist white America. So as much as this lady claims to be going through, oh, I was so traumatized, this has all been very difficult for me and my family. How do you think those Black teens felt at that party? It's my guess that those kids were probably set up for some bullshit, right? Somebody sent them kids the fucking address. They wasn't just riding around New Hartford, New York, looking for the party to crash. Someone told them to come. And when they came in the club shaking their dreads, throwing their bow, busting their heads, all them white parents started clutching their pearls. And who invited them? And then the kids that invited them had to fucking act like they had amnesia. Well, we don't know who invited Jamal and them. No one good and goddamn well. Y'all invited Jamal and them. Stop fucking playing. But no, these Black children were in a place, in a neighborhood, in a zip code in which white folks did not felt as though they belonged. So the police were called. Violence ensued. And there actually might be a slight consequence. But anyway, I hope the kids, those Black teens specifically, are doing well. I hope they themselves were not traumatized by this incident. I hope they themselves were not overly traumatized by being in my opinion, lured to a party in which the likelihood of a racial confrontation was elevated, right? I think those kids were lured there. And then for the white adults to behave in the ways in which their ancestors would absolutely be proud, to terrorize Black teens and to make shit hard for them just because they can. Yeah, well, if we find your fucking car keys, we're going to put it down the toilet. You're welcome. The psychosis of whiteness. I'll keep you posted on what happens to this judge. We rooting for removal, but again, removal, and then what? Someone's going to give her a job. She's going to get to work in someone's law firm. She's going to be a consultant somewhere. She's going to start her own consulting firm, right? We know how this story goes. A moment or temporary public humiliation just to resume whiting as usual. just to let me pick up my whiting in progress where I was doing well whilst being racist and a piece of shit. Yeah, we had a temporary setback, but nope, we're gonna be back on track. Mark my motherfucking words, what I tell y'all. We're gonna be watching this shit. Judge Aaron Gall. Bye, bitch. Anyway, look at the time. It's almost 9 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm gonna turn y'all loose on this weekend. I want to thank you guys for everything, everybody. Just thank you for being who you are. This is the most impressive community. I swear to God. That's excluding nobody. Okay, that put a YouTube channel up, and that's including everybody. You know what I'm saying? Put your team against my team. Guarantee you be the very last time breathing. You know what I'm saying? Sugar Crows don't move me. They minor, we major. They all up in the game and don't deserve to be a player. Don't make me have to call your name out. Your crew was featherweight. My gunshots will make you levitate. I'm only 19, but my mind is old. When it's slug, something, worm heart turns cold. Another nigga deceased. Another story gets told. It ain't nothing really. And yo, done sparked the Philly. So I could get my mind on these yellow back niggas while they still alive. I don't know. Go figure. This is what Tommy Crooks had in his earbuds the whole time. He was listening to Monty. He was listening to Shook Ones, lining Trump up, shorty. Listening to ain't no such things as halfway crooks. Tommy Crooks. Tommy Crooks. Tommy Crooks. Tommy Crooks. Let me shut up before YouTube pulls the plug. Good night, y'all. We'll see y'all back here Tuesday. Next week starts the summer fundraiser for BIDWKB. So thank you so much in advance for your support. And Courtney, what's up, Court? Shout out to Courtney, the SLP. What's up to Simba? Hi, Simba. Hi, Simba. Simba's a good boy. What else am I trying to say, y'all? Oh, don't forget to go over and subscribe and set your notifications for Black Liberation Media as well. And we're going to call it a night. Thank you so much to Molly and Will for all that you do. And we'll see you guys back here on Tuesday. Love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for my birthday wishes. And I'm going to have a good time this weekend. So thank you guys in advance. Love y'all. See you later. Bye-bye. Deuces. Deuces.